So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here about BSN Network. And we'll get back here, BSN Network. This is BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, February 1st. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. It is, in fact, Monday, February 1st. We are officially in February. Crazy. The month of January flew by. We are now in February, the first day of February. We are rocking and rolling. This week is the Super Bowl week. Should be super, super exciting. Super Bowl is this week today. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all the hype up headed towards the Super Bowl. Each day gets a little bit closer to the Chiefs and Buccaneers battling it out on the stage of Super Bowl 55 on CBS Sports. Going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be entertaining. I'm excited for it. Hopefully you are as well. Coming off of another huge weekend full of sports, a lot of stuff on. Nets played Friday, they got the win. Rangers played Saturday, they took the loss. Nets played yesterday, they lost in a terrible choke at the end. We were winning by 5 with 5 seconds left, or 12 seconds left. They hit a 3, we were winning by 2. All we had to do was inbound the ball and get fouled and shoot another pair of free throws. They stole it, they hit a 3, they won 149-146. I would rather not talk about it, but I'm going to have to. They took a tough loss. So for the weekend, the Nets went 1-1. They got their 5-game win streak snapped. The Rangers took a loss on Saturday, but today they play again today against the Pittsburgh Penguins at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight's game's not only on MSG, but you could also find it on NBCSN, which is a nationally televised game. So for many of you that might not be able to see the Rangers, you could watch them. And for many of you that, just are going around your TVs and you see, the Rangers play tonight, it should be a good game. The Rangers, it's not been, they've been playing close games. It's just the problem has been is they've not been able to close out these games. They've been able to win. They've been able to get leads, but they just blow these leads late in games. And if they can find a way to limit that, they would be in great position to possibly, make a run, for a couple of these big games. So that's really big. But yeah, so that's what we got there. These are the topics for today. The first huge trade of the 2021 NFL offseason has hit on, was it Friday night or Saturday night? I'm trying to think. What was it? It was January 30th. So that was Saturday night. The Detroit Lions made a deal with the Los Angeles Rams, sending Matthew Stafford to the Lions in return for Jared Goff, 2 first-rounders, and a third-round pick, so our first. And this isn't just a deal. This isn't just a big deal because it's the first deal. This is one of the biggest deals. You actually date back into NFL history. This is one of the bigger deals. This is the first time in the modern draft era that 2 first overall pick quarterbacks are traded for each other. Matthew Stafford got picked first overall. We all know Jared Goff got picked first overall. Stafford going to the Rams in return for Jared Goff going to the Lions. I'll tell you who won the trade and why, because I seriously do think there is a winner in this trade. A lot of times I don't like to judge trades until they happen, depending on what is given there, but I really strongly believe one of these teams won this trade. I'll tell you why in a little bit. I know there's a lot of people that are on the side of the spectrum that I'm usually on. I've got to see it before I could give a judge on it, but this is one of the deals I strongly believe I know who won the trade before they've even stepped on a field with their new team. We'll get into that. We'll get into Nolan Arenado traded to the Cardinals, another huge deal. Nolan Arenado headed to the Cardinals, a big hit for Colorado sports, a big hit for really the state of Colorado. A lot of huge fans there of Nolan Arenado. A big hit for Colorado and Denver sports stuff. It's a big hit there. But obviously Nolan Arenado's headed to the Cardinals, and obviously the Rockies are headed into what seems a little bit of a rebuild stage. And a lot of us are questioning, and I'm still to this day questioning, why in the world did the Colorado Rockies give up Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals. One of your franchise, the face of the franchise. Why would you give him up? And I'll tell you why this reminds me of the DJ LeMahieu move. They didn't re-sign him. The Yankees picked him up, and now we'll look what he's doing. The Colorado Rockies, it's almost like the same thing over and over again. I'll tell you why this is not a good move for the Colorado Rockies and how this could really help the Cardinals get up there in the rankings and possibly really make a strong push this season. Then to cap off the podcast, we got college basketball, NBA, NHL, and your rest of your New York sports report. No Kentucky today, as they got, so the reason why I'm not going to talk Kentucky today, talk about their game, was because they did not play on Saturday. Their game got postponed. A couple positive tests in the Kentucky program caused that game to get postponed, so Kentucky will not play today. We really do not know quite when they're going to play again due to the whole COVID protocol situation. You have to quarantine and see how many guys tested positive, so, I'll keep you updated on this podcast, but I don't foresee us playing maybe this week, maybe next week, but we'll see. We'll keep you posted there, but the rest of the New York sports report there, Nets, Knicks, Rangers, and Islanders, all that good stuff. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So first of all, before I talk about this Matthew Stafford deal, I would so much say that this weekend, it was kind of odd not having football on because we've had football on since week. This was really the first weekend that we didn't have football on. Right, it's kind of weird. We've gone spoiled, but it's kind of the truth. We have had football from week 1 all the way back in September, all the way up until last week. So this week, it was kind of odd not to have football on and not to have a game to watch, not to have a pivotal playoff game to watch. Obviously, the Pro Bowl was on yesterday, and I watched a little bit of it. I was really enjoying the Devils-Sabres game, but, a little bit of the Pro Bowl stuff and things like that, but I was mainly watching the hockey game and stuff, but I saw the Pro Bowl celebration as well. But this was really the first weekend without having football, really, in all seriousness, since week 1. And it's pretty crazy. Obviously, some team, obviously there was weeks where you had some postponements, but there was every week, there was at least a couple of games on Sunday. Whether that was the entire league, whether that was half the league, whether that was a little bit over, whatever the case may be. Every week there was at least some games on Sunday. Now, we saw some Tuesday games, we saw a Wednesday game, we've obviously seen Thursday games, we saw some Saturday games, we saw some Monday games, we've seen it all. But I'll tell you what, going into this weekend, I kind of set expectations like, okay, I got to expect there might not be crazy much to watch. Kentucky got postponed, the Nets play late, the Rangers play late, right? Things like that. There might not be much to watch. I enjoy college basketball and stuff like this. But then the NFL and the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams strike this huge deal. And I don't want to say that this deal is only big just because it's the first deal of the 2021 offseason, but if you look really into the numbers and you look really into the history of trades, this is one of the biggest trades to go down in NFL history. This is, like I said before, the first time in NFL history in the modern draft era that two first overall picks got swapped for each other. Matthew Stafford, first overall pick, is going to the Rams in return for Jared Goff, who's another first overall pick. Obviously not really close to each other. Matthew Stafford was drafted a little longer ago. Goff's only in his third, fourth year. But this deal is one of the biggest deals I've seen in a very long time. And it's a great way to start off the 2021 offseason because I'll tell you what, as a Jets fan, I'm super excited for this because I think the Jets are going to make a ton of moves. We have a ton of cap space. As just an overall NFL fan, I think it's going to be exciting. I think guys like Deshaun Watson, guys like J.J. Watt, those names you would not have expected to be on the list this year, but they are definitely on the list to possibly get traded and or picked up. So, there's a lot of stuff here, but, I'm super excited. And this was a great way to start the season. So even though there wasn't much on, NFL-wise, NFL is always finding a way. There's always moves. It's almost like they purposely planned this. Okay, there's not much on, so let's give our fans something to look at, right? Let's give this. So the news actually came out on Saturday that they were going to get the job done, get this deal done before the Super Bowl, and that kind of gives you a pretty big range. It's like, okay, you're sitting there on that Saturday. The Super Bowl is obviously the next Sunday, obviously a little bit less than a week now, but the Super Bowl is about a week away. You're like, okay, so it could happen anywhere from now pretty much until the minute before the Super Bowl. So I didn't really expect the deal was going to get done, but the deal did get done. Report Matthew Stafford traded from Lions to Rams in deal for Jared Goff and some picks. So Johnny, just to give you some background here, Obviously the Lions and Matthew Stafford. I'll tell you what. I'm not a Lions fan. And I don't really, I don't hate him. I don't love him. I have really no care. I don't really have any feelings for him. They're just another NFL team out there. But I'll tell you what. Many Lions fans, I'm sure, were upset to see that Matthew Stafford and the Lions mutually agreed to, try and find a trade. They obviously mutually agreed. Obviously, the agent, Matthew Stafford, and the Lions felt it was best for both parties, best for both ways to mutually agree on going. Obviously, Matthew Stafford, I think, might have wanted to change his scenery, try to get a championship, and I ultimately think that the Lions tried to, at the same thing, change his scenery and try to bring in a new quarterback because Matthew Stafford back then was the future. He is no longer the future. He's getting up there in age. I think they're kind of turning towards a new head coach, new offensive system. Let's bring someone new in here, and let's kind of start over in a way, if you will, if you kind of judge it like that, if I'm kind of saying. So we all knew this deal was coming. It was just a matter of when. And obviously Matthew Stafford had an excellent career with, Detroit. He never had the Super Bowl. He never got there. He's made playoff appearances, but for the most part, here's one thing that I've always thought about Matthew Stafford. I never really thought that the Lions did a great job of building around him. I never thought that the Lions did an excellent job of, getting assets and getting pieces around him. I mean, he had Megatron for all those years, but you also got to realize Megatron was only really in the league for just like 7 years, and he retired, and he didn't play that long. And that's what I find pretty cool about Matthew Stafford is a guy who really did not have that number one receiver, a guy who never really had that go-to guy. And if you know what I'm talking about, like Montana had Rice, Brady for a little bit there had Moss, Rodgers has always had Devontae Adams, like guys like that, have that kind of guy. To more than modern quarterbacks, Mahomes has Kelsey and Hill, Murray's got DeAndre Hopkins. Watson, you see what happened. He had DeAndre Hopkins. He doesn't anymore. Guys like that. So, Stafford, I felt like never had that guy. Obviously, Calvin Johnson was that guy, Megatron, but he was only in the league for like 7 seasons, which, to be honest, isn't very long because there's a lot of players out there that could play 15 at receiver, and it was obviously very surprising. I actually remember that Megatron retired. I think the whole NFL world was shocked. He only played 7 years. He was in his prime, and he retired mid-prime. I think part of it was just the mental, the physical toll it took on his body, because if you do not know, Megatron was a big guy that would get double-teamed a lot. He is in NFL history, goes down as one of the more guys to get double-teamed a lot. I mean, it's the truth. He really... there was a time where he would be getting beat up. He would be getting triple-teamed. He took a toll on his body. So I could see that. But, Matthew Stafford never had that go-to guy. Recently, he's had Kenny Golladay. But Kenny Golladay, week in and week out, it's 1 week he's injured, 1 week he's not. 1 week he's injured, 1 week he's not. He's consistent when he's out there, but he's inconsistent, getting to the games, meaning like inconsistent off the field. Meaning 1 day he's injured, 1 day he's healthy, 1 day he's injured, 1 day he's healthy, right? So that kind of stuff. So in a way, you could kind of say Matthew Stafford throughout his career had a lot of moving parts. But, the Rams are getting the Rams are getting a little bit of an older quarterback, and this is where I go into who I think won this deal. And let's get to the Jared Goff thing in a second. To kind of go to the Jared Goff, and then I kind of want to tell you about the deal, tell you all the parts that were in here, and ultimately, in my opinion, who I think won the deal. Let's get to Jared Goff. Jared Goff, we obviously all know, got drafted first overall. Him and Wentz, we all know that draft. It's been one of the more odder drafts ever, one of the more odd drafts ever. To have 2 quarterbacks picked first overall, and now you look at it, right? You look at a quarterback now in Goff, and you look at a quarterback now in Wentz. Neither of them might not even be on their teams that they got drafted by within the first 3-4 years of their career. If you know what I'm talking about. Wentz, obviously, who knows if he's going to be an Eagle, and obviously Goff is in this trade headed to the Lions. So, Jared Goff, obviously got drafted. Jared Goff, I really can't say everything the same about Stafford because Goff's played only 3-4 years in the league and Stafford's played 10-15, right? So you really can't compare the two. But Goff is kind of like Stafford in a way. He never had that main guy. He's had Cooper Kupp, he's had Robert Woods, but they're not one of those guys that you could throw the ball downfield to. I guess you could say you have Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are consistent 5, 7 yard, 10 yard kind of slant guys, going to get the ball and run upfield quick receivers. He never had that guy that's going to go deep every play, be double teamed, hauling a ball like that. And to be honest, with Jared Goff, I honestly think that Jared Goff got, it was kind of, I think it wasn't the nicest thing to do the way he got out of there in Los Angeles. I know a lot of people, I know a lot of fans know he was struggling, and I know a lot of fans, once they heard that Sean McVay was, and him and Jared Goff were kind of at odds, I know there was a lot of fans out there that partied with Sean McVay and went his way and was kind of on the Sean McVay boat. Once we all heard that news about Jared Goff and Sean McVay, not having a little bit of an iffy relationship and stuff like that, I think a lot of the fan base of Los Angeles, at least 80-90% of them, paired with Sean McVay, went on his boat, hopped on the Sean McVay boat, and there was Jared Goff's boat slightly sinking in Los Angeles. A lot of people not really siding with Jared Goff. Maybe only about 5-10% of the fan base. So, in a way, I feel like Jared Goff, when he left there, in a way, I feel like Jared Goff kind of got like, it was almost like he just got thrown out of Los Angeles. It was almost like they took him, picked him up, and just threw him out of Los Angeles and threw him to Detroit. I feel like the fan base didn't really want him there. The coaching staff, in a way, didn't really want him there. And this really only started this year, and especially when they got into that little bit of a losing streak around that Jets loss, then when Goff broke his finger or thumb and they started winning some games, they started looking good, then Goff came back, it's almost like they slowed down a little bit. Things got a little rowdy towards the final 5-6 weeks of the season. Actually, 5-6 weeks a little too much. About final 2-3 to even 4 weeks of the season, things got a little rowdy. And we all knew, not that there was going to be a trade, but I think we all knew that the relationship between McVay and Goff was maybe a little bit, needs a little bit of fixing. I don't think it was terrible where they weren't even talking to each other, weren't even communicating, like some of the situations we've seen in all sports, not just the NFL, but you knew that, there was something brewing there. And whether Los Angeles was going to go the Goff way and keep Goff and maybe look to see what they want to do with McVay, or keep McVay and ultimately get rid of Goff, was one thing. And that's another thing too, is Goff's contract so big. Goff's contract's so big, and that's where I think a lot of people are thinking why in the world they had to give up so much for Stafford, is because I think they realized that Goff's contract's big, and they gave him a huge deal. They obviously keeping him there. They gave him a big deal, and now he's obviously gone. Now, now both these quarterbacks are in an interesting situation, because I wouldn't consider both these quarterbacks top 10 in the league. I wouldn't consider them great. It's not like you're trading it's not like you're seeing like a trade like a, I don't know, what's a deal? I'm just thinking of a deal that would happen, that hasn't happened yet, but, just a deal that could be like a fantasy, like not going to happen, but you could think of it. It's like, it's not like a deal that you're trading like let's just say Watson to the Ravens for Lamar Jackson. It's not like you're trading 2 top 10 quarterbacks for each other and 2 first-round picks or something. You're trading, in my opinion, maybe 2 top 15, maybe top 20 quarterbacks. Definitely top 20, maybe top 15 quarterbacks for each other. So it's not like you're trading the most highest-end quarterbacks in this deal. You're trading one quarterback that's kind of getting older in his career, kind of getting a fresh start. And you're getting another quarterback who's still very young in his career. He's not the best. I wouldn't say he's lived up to first pick of potential, but definitely he's shown talent, he's shown potential. That's kind of what this deal is. Now, here's my thing with Jared Goff. And then I'll get into who I think won the deal. And this kind of goes into who I think won the deal. Here's my thing with Jared Goff. I truly think that the Rams didn't want him. And I've always said this. As a player, if you want to play for a team, and that team doesn't really want you, that fan base is kind of against you, the coaching staff is kind of against you, the front office is like, okay, we're going to look to trade this guy. How can you possibly go out there with all that going on and possibly perform your best on Sundays, or whenever you're playing, whether it's a Sunday, Monday, or a Thursday? Or towards the end of the year, they have Saturday games. Whenever you're playing, we're just going to stick it to Sunday, because over 80% of the NFL plays on Sunday. 90% actually. We'll just stick to Sunday. How can you possibly go out there on a Sunday and possibly perform to your highest level when it almost seems like the entire organization, the entire fan base, in a way, is against you and wants someone else in here? This is Jared Goff, people. This guy is only about 2 years removed from making the championship, from making the Super Bowl, and ultimately losing to the Patriots, but they made the Super Bowl. He's only 2 years removed. Last year was the Chiefs 49ers. The year before that, it was the Patriots. Rams. That last season, it was the Chiefs 49ers. Obviously, we all know this year has yet to happen, but it's the Chiefs Buccaneers. Still, obviously coming up this week. This is only Jared Goff. He's only 2 years removed. And this is where I think, and I'm going to tell you who I think wins this deal. A lot of times with deals, I wait to see because I don't like to always judge deals off of what I just see. But I think the Lions win this deal. Here's my reasoning. You're getting a quarterback who has made more Super Bowls in about 4 years than Matthew Stafford has made in his entire career. Matthew Stafford has made none. Goff's already made it to 1. You're getting a young quarterback who has a lot of talent, in my opinion, who still can develop, and that kind of translates to my other thing. You have 2 first-round picks. Those 2 first-round picks you can use to build around him and kind of build around with a young core. Now, do I think the Rams are getting a bad quarterback? No, they're getting Matthew Stafford. He's pretty good. But I think in terms of value, in terms of what you're getting, I think the Lions win this deal. They're getting Jared Goff, who I still think could be very solid. I still think I'm very high on Jared Goff. I still think he could be a solid quarterback. You're getting 2 first-round picks that could very well translate into 2 franchise receivers. And you're getting a 3rd-round pick who I love the 3rd round for offensive linemen, so you get a big body to protect Jared Goff. Now, that's only if they keep those picks. That's only if the Lions go ahead and make those decisions. But at the way it's looking like, if I was a Lions fan today, I would feel pretty confident with Jared Goff at quarterback. Now, I know you're going to miss, obviously, not having Matthew Stafford. He's your franchise guy. He's been there for a long time. I know they're going to miss that. I get it. I've had it with players before, even just some players, even like I've seen it with sports. Henrik Lundqvist, for example. With him leaving and then obviously going to the Capitals, he is obviously out indefinitely. But even him, it was like he had a great career with us, but it stinks to see him leave. So I could see where Lions fans are coming into, and it might be hard to embrace Jared Goff like that. But when you look at the guy's career, the guy has made it to more Super Bowls than Matthew Stafford has his entire career, and Jared Goff had a good year that year, too. I mean, the defense was huge, but Jared Goff had a good year that year, too. It wasn't like Jared Goff got carried by the defense. He had a big year. This is Jared Goff. If he can get back to that level, is huge. And like I said, I think, and he even said this a couple days ago after the trade. He said he's glad he's going to some place that actually wants him. And I think that's huge. And I think that's really good for Lions fans to hear. Because obviously he knows that they want him. Lions are going to want him. So I think he's going to play better there. How possibly you could go out there, step on the field, play for an organization, play for a fan base that really doesn't even want you there? That's tough to do. It's almost like if you go into work every day and you do your job, but the manager or the owner or whatever, your boss can't stand you. No. If you try to go out there every Sunday and play for an organization that doesn't even want you to be there, it's tough to play at your highest level. And maybe players, too, that aren't really supporting you either. That's tough. So at the same time, the Rams are ultimately getting what they want. McVay obviously wanted Matthew Stafford. He's obviously going to try to make a full push. Now, I will tell you this. This deal, currently, I think the Lions won. If Matthew Stafford goes on and wins the Super Bowl, or now with Matthew Stafford being there, their Super Bowl, they have the 3rd best odds now to win it. If they go there and win a Super Bowl, sure, Lions win this deal. If they don't, then the Rams win that deal. If they don't, then the Lions definitely win the deal. This is one of these situations where it's Super Bowl or bust. You gave up your 2 first-round picks this year and next year. I think it's this year, right? I think it is. This year, next year. Then your 3rd-round pick the year after that. And Jared Goff, who's a still young, up-and-coming, developing quarterback, for an older veteran, Matthew Stafford, who currently, I think, is kind of on the end of his prime. This is kind of 1 or 2 more years of full-on, blow all the gas that's left in the tank and try your best to win it. And I think that's what the Rams are going to do. And watch out now, because the Rams might make more moves. Now that I think they're fully committed on going for a Super Bowl, they're going to do everything they can to just full-on push. I think it's going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens. But currently, I do think the Lions win this deal. I currently do, because I think they're getting a young quarterback, and I still think Goff can turn it around. And they're getting 2 first-round picks, and they're getting a 3rd-round pick. And if Golladay doesn't return at the receiving core, then you use those picks to get another receiver, right? And, you got a new coach, you got a new offensive system, bringing Goff in. It's almost like a fresh start there, and a lot of times teams need that. So I think the Lions win this deal. Report Matthew Stafford traded from Lions to Rams and deal for Jared Goff and some picks. Matthew Stafford, 12-season career with the Detroit Lions has come to an end After the team traded the 2009 number 1 overall pick to the Los Angeles Rams for quarterback Jared Goff, 2 future first-round picks, and a third-round selection per ESPN's Adam Schefter on Saturday. It's a new era in Detroit with general manager Brad Holmes taking over the front office and head coach Dan Campbell patrolling the sidelines. Tom Pelissero of NFL Network reported on January 23rd that Stafford and the Lions had open and healthy discussions following the conclusion of the 2020 seasons, and both sides agreed the time was right to mutually part ways. As for Stafford, a new home where he's better positioned to compete for a Super Bowl at this stage of his career is probably the best move as opposed to taking part in a rebuild. The 32-year-old now heads to Los Angeles after completing 64.2% of his passes for 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 4,084 yards last year. He's only 1 year removed from amassing a career-high 8.6 yards per pass attempt. Stafford started for the Lions from week 1 of the 2009 season onward, although the team hasn't enjoyed much success outside three playoff appearances. He has fared well as the Lions quarterback, completing 62.6% of his passes for 282 touchdowns and 144 picks. Moreover, the Georgia product has done an excellent job forming rapports with a rotating cast of top receivers over the past few years. Like I said, he's had many different receivers. He's never really been able to build a connection with one main guy. A Calvin Johnson-dominated core gave way to a group led by Golden Tate and Marvin Jones Jr. before Kenny Golladay took over as the team's clear number 1. Now Stafford will be throwing to Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and a new set of pass catchers for the Rams when he moves to LA. Meanwhile, Los Angeles has made a systematic change at quarterback, inserting the veteran Stafford in for Goff, whom the Rams took with the number 1 overall pick in the 2016 draft. In the 2016 NFL draft, Goff's numbers have taken a tumble in recent years, with his passing yards per attempt falling to 8.4 in 2018, the team's NFC title year, to 7.2 in 2020. On January 29th, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported Matthew Stafford considers the Rams a viable contender in his trade market with the Lions, while it's unclear what the Rams can do with Jared Goff's long-term deal on the books. They've explored the possibilities with Stafford. And now that the possibility is a reality, with Stafford looking to lead the Rams back to the Super Bowl. So, we'll see. I mean, we really will. I think it's going to be interesting. But, like I said, currently I think the Rams win this deal. And I know a lot of people are all saying Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl now. Okay, here's a guy who's never made a Super Bowl. So you're going to tell me at 32 years old, he's automatically, just because he's in a new position, he's automatically just going to go straight towards the Super Bowl. And like I said, I never said that Jared Goff's the best thing in the world. His stats have taken a tumble. But I think part of it is because the organization, once again, I'm going to keep going back to this. It might get annoying, but I think this is the true reason why. The organization was against him. The fan base was against him. The coaching staff was against him. How can you possibly ask the guy to go out there week in and week out, play his best, and just fail, right? So, we'll see what happens. But I really do think that there is a good possibility that the Lions are going to fix Goff, bring him into a new system, get 1 or 2 receivers from 3 of those picks, and move forwards. Because I think you could look at both deals. You can look at it this way. You can look at the Rams are getting for the present right now, and the Lions are building towards the future. And I think we can agree on that, right? The Rams are getting a deal right now that is automatically going to lock in. We're making a full push. And the Lions, I think, are new system, new coach. Let us build. Let us rebuild. Let us build for the future. That's that. So if you want to compare it that way, you can. But ultimately, right now, as we sit here today, February 1st, 2021, I think the Lions won this deal. Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks, and a third-round pick. Now, if the Rams would have gotten Matthew Stafford and maybe a second-round pick, maybe, or a second and a third, okay. But something about the age and the picks just does it for me. You're getting a younger quarterback who's already made more Super Bowls than Stafford has in 12 years, and you're getting 2 first-round picks and a third. Something about that I really like where the Lions are headed with this deal. So we'll see. But that's my personal opinion on it. So I want to just look at both players' stats. I know we briefly read them, but I like to go more in depth here. I know those are just some of the stats. They didn't really go crazy into it. I'll read Stafford's first since they come up first here. Let's get them up here. Let's get the stats up here. Let's see here. Alrighty, so here we go. So I'll read Stafford's first, like I said, and then I'll do Goff's just because of the order it's in here. So I'll tell you what. To take away from this trade, I think we could both agree, whoever's watched it, I think we could all agree that Goff and Stafford, it's going to be odd seeing them not in a Rams uniform for Goff, and especially Stafford not being in a Lions uniform. Because I think we could all agree, Stafford's still playing at a decently level. I was not expecting him to, get moved on from. But I will tell you what, it's going to be odd not seeing either of these guys in a Lions uniform for Stafford or Goff. And it's going to be especially odd seeing Stafford in a Rams uniform and Goff in a Lions uniform. Just because, Goff you would have expected after that max extension, you would have just thought, you would have just thought, oh, yeah, he's going to be here for a long time, right? But, hey, that's sports for you. That's the great thing about sports. Anything could happen in sports, right? It's great. So, so let's look at the numbers here. So his 2020 stats, he had 4,084 yards, that's 12th in the NFL, 26 touchdowns, that's tied 12th in the NFL. 10 interceptions, that's tied for 18th, and a QBR of 68.4, that's 15th. So like I said, he's not about top 10 quarterback. Those stats are all about 12 range, so probably about a top 20, top 15 quarterback there. If you want to look at some of his numbers, he played 165 games total in his career. All 165 of them have been with the Lions. He's only had 3 years where he has not played 165 games. Or not 165, 16 games. His rookie year, he only played 10. His second season, he played 3. And in 2019, he played 8. He was partially injured there. His first season, it's understandable. But other than that, his big year was in 2011. He threw for 41 touchdowns and 16 picks. Really. And if you look at his other stats here, he's had 282 touchdowns with the Lions. He's thrown 144 picks. His longest throw of his career was 87 yards. He's average per play 7.2. Total yards is 45,109. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 4,000-yard seasons. 1 5,000-yard season. Actually, about 6 4,000-yard seasons and 1 5,000-yard season. That 5,000-yard season also came in 2011 when he had the 41 touchdowns. He had a big year that year. He's taken 385 sacks. His overall player rating is 89. This season was 96.3. His best rating of his career was in 2019 where he had 106 rating, although he only played 8 games, so it's kind of different there. But if you look at this season, he had 339 completions, 528 attempts. He had 64.2 completion percentage. Career-wise, he's a 62.6 completion percentage. His best completion percentage came in 2015, where he had 67.2%. That was a year where he threw 32 touchdowns. So that was one of his better years. That was another 4,000-yard season. And like I said, his highest yard season was 5,038. So for the most part, he's had pretty good stats. Hall of Fame, probably no. If he gets a Super Bowl, maybe. But for the most part, he's had pretty good stats. So that's what the Rams are getting. Now let's look at what the Lions are getting in their quarterback here, Jared Goff. Let's see here. Okay, so the Lions are getting a quarterback in his 2020 stats. He had 3,952 yards. That's 14th in the NFL. 20 touchdowns. That's 19th in the NFL. 13 interceptions. That's tied 31st in the NFL. And QBR, that's 58.4. That's 23rd in the NFL. So right around here, top 20, top 15 quarterback in the league. Probably about top 20 or so. Quarterback in the league. Let me mind you, he's only 26, Stafford's 32. So there's a little bit of an age difference, 6 years apart, which is pretty big. It might not seem like much, but it really is. He's only played, like I said, he's only 5 years in. So he's only played about 5 years, so that's not crazy. He's had 132 touchdown season. That was actually there they made the Super Bowl. To look at it, he's had 5 seasons of 2 seasons, 16 games. 2017 and 2020, he played 15, and then 2016 he only played 7. But he's had 69 career games. He had 1,536 completions, 2,421 completion attempts. Completion percentage was 63.4. He's at 18,171 yards. 7.5 was his average. 107 touchdowns and 55 interceptions. His longest throw of his career was 94 yards. He's taken 129 sacks, which is a lot, and his overall player rating is 91.5 in his career. He's had 2 years of over 100 player rating, 100.5 and 101.1, back-to-back 2017-2018. This season, he had a 90 player rating overall. He had 15 games played, 370 completions, 552 attempts, 67 was his completion percentage. That was his highest of his career, but he only threw for 3,952 yards. 7.2 was his average per play. His career is 7.5. Touchdowns this season, he had 20 and 13 interceptions. His highest touchdown season came in 2018, where he had 32 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions. He's had 2 4,000-yard years in his career. Like I said, two 4,000-yard seasons for him. So that's pretty good, I would say. And yeah, that's kind of that, to be honest. And then obviously he's borderline 91.5, rating there. And like I said, he's a work in progress. He's still young, so you could still fix him. That's the one I think. I think for the Lions, it's more high risk, high reward. I think it's for the Rams, it's high risk, high reward. You're risking, getting, I think you're risking, Stafford because he is 32 years old, and your reward is Super Bowl though. And I think, for the Lions, it's kind of low risk, and I don't know about high reward though, because it's low risk and probably medium reward. It's a little bit of a lower risk. He does have a big contract, but if this guy can turn around and play well, I think it could make a big difference. So we'll see how it goes. But those are that's the first big trade and really the first big deal of the 2021 NFL offseason. Coming up next, I will talk about Nolan Arenado headed to the St. Louis Cardinals and how I will talk about the St. Louis Cardinals and Nolan Arenado trade coming up next, and how it is a big deal for not only the Cardinals, but the Rockies and the MLB in general. Coming up next. Alrighty, so let's get this up here. If I can get this up. By the way, there was a deal. Here we go. There was a plan that was put in place by the MLB. The MLB is not going to reject it though, which I actually kind of agree with them there. I might talk about that tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. So so this was a big move. This was a biggie. I think a lot of us kind of saw it, but this was a big move. Report: Nolan Arenado traded to Cardinals from Rockies. St. Louis gets $50 million in the deal. So, this happened, actually, right, this kind of happened right after we did the podcast. So, I made the podcast about the rumors of him going to the Cardinals. And you know how the rumors work. You're just not sure. And especially how this MLB offseason's gone. It's been pretty slow. And obviously with the whole Nolan Arenado situation, we really didn't know. There's been so many different rumors. 1 minute it's, high. The next minute it's kind of, he's staying with the Rockies. And then obviously now he's a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. But it's pretty big. So, I would like to first off say this. Each city, each state, wherever you want to say, each city, each sports town, you could say, has those players. To put it in New York terms, because obviously I talk about New York sports, the Yankees, each city, each state has that athlete, has that guy that you could always fall back on when you're talking with someone about sports or about your favorite team or about that city's team. And there's always that player you could fall back on. Oh, we have this guy, or we had this guy, or this guy was a member of our team, or this coach is this. Each team usually has that. Each city has that. For example, for New York sports, you could go ahead and say the Yankees. They have Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge. They have those kind of guys. For the Rangers, all those years you had Henrik Lundqvist, who was the face of the franchise. Now it's kind of turning in that, Artemi Panarin in a way is the face of the franchise. You could say for the Nets, all those years it was, the Dr. J's and, the Jason Kids and stuff. Now it's turning into Kevin Durant is kind of the face of the franchise. I mean, you could say Kyrie is, but for the most part it's KD. Same thing with the Jets. You could say, you could kind of say, I mean, currently the Jets, I mean, you could say that for the face of the overall franchise, it's been Joe Namath, I would say, or a guy like a Wayne Krabet, or, Curtis Martin, or guys like that. Currently, I wouldn't say there's one main guy. I mean, I guess you could say Becton, or a Marcus May, or someone like that. But that's kind of how it is, right? And that's one of the big things. So each team, each city has a player to fall back on. Almost like you could go to another person. Let's go to Miami, for example. The Heat, they have Jimmy Butler. They have Tyler Hero. They have guys like that, right? You could go through many. Philadelphia, right? Let's go there, right? You could say Joel Embiid, right? You have guys like that. The Eagles have, for those years, they had Zach Ertz, kind of Fletcher Cox in a way. That guy you could always fall back on. Phillies have Bryce Harper right now. The guy you could always go back on and say, hey, we got this guy. You have JT Realmuto, guys like that. So each city has a guy. To put it in Colorado terms, Denver Nuggets, they have they have Jokic, right? They have Jokic. The Denver Broncos. I mean, all those years they had Von Miller and Peyton Manning. But you can kind of say right now it's a little bit of a mix of maybe Drew Lock or their face of the franchise currently is kind of vacant in a way. And then you have their hockey team, Colorado Avalanche. It's probably Nathan McKinnon. And then you have their baseball team. And this gets to my point with the Colorado Rockies. So the Rockies a couple years ago decided not to re-sign, at the time, a very good hitter in DJ LeMahieu, but he's even gotten even better with the Yankees at the time, DJ LeMahieu. They gave him away. Also, they gave Cargo away. And then, obviously, the other day, they gave Nolan Arenado away. There's about your probably three main faces of the franchise. They just gave away their face of the franchise, Nolan Arenado. The city and the state of the sports fans in Colorado, the sports fans that root for Colorado sports, are seriously going to miss Nolan Arenado. This was almost the face of sports in Colorado in a way, you could say. And it's the truth. It's really the truth. This is almost the face of the sports in Colorado. This was the guy. If someone asked you who's even good on any of those teams, you could say Nolan Arenado. You could bring up his Gold Gloves. You could bring up his All-Star games. You could bring up his hitting. You could bring up his fielding. You could bring up just his overall smartness and what he brings to that locker room. You could bring his off-the-field stuff. He did a lot to give back to the community, right? You're giving up that guy now. And how outrageous can this Rockies organization be? And I get it. There was a little bit of brewing there between Nolan Arenado and the GM and things like that. But are you seriously going to tell me you're going to give up the face of the franchise, the face of sports there in Colorado, and for really nothing? I mean, at least if you're going to give him up, at least get something in return. And you're just going to go, let him up. You did this with Carlos Gonzalez. You did this with DJ LeMahieu. And now you're doing it again with Nolan Arenado. And guess what, people? Look what DJ LeMahieu's doing with my New York Yankees. He's going amazing. And now I am sure the St. Louis Cardinals are going to enjoy watching Nolan Arenado flash that leather glove at third base. And the Rockies are now left with Charlie Blackmon and who? No one. Maybe Trevor Story, sure, but other than that, they have nobody. You're not only taking your key player on your team, but you're taking a guy that the entire MLB thought was maybe the best. You just traded him. I mean, this is how how incompetent can this front office be of the Colorado Rockies? I mean, it's not even like Nolan Arenado is pushing to get a trade. It's not like he was like a Watson right now that's requesting a trade, that's doing all this stuff. Nolan Arenado, there was a little bit of iffiness between him and the GM, but for the most part, I think Nolan Arenado would definitely go out there and play again. He's been there his whole career. And you just traded him. And the fact that you traded him, you're not going to get much else in return is just completely crazy to me. The Colorado Rockies, once again, make a big mistake with their star. And your organization, these franchises, these teams, they have to know what to do with their stars. The Texans right now are being patient with Watson. They just don't want to give him away and, for nothing. They're being patient with him. A lot of times you have to learn that with organizations. Organizations, you have to a lot of time be patient with your stars, right? You have to. In order for them to work. You have to almost be patient with your stars. Same thing in the situation with Nolan Arenado. They should have been patient with Nolan Arenado. Teams, organizations have to do that. The Rockies are terrible at that. DJ LeMahieu, they weren't patient with him. He was in free agency. They're like, yep, you could go there. One of the best hitters in the MLB, if not the best right now on the New York Yankees. And just signed a 6-year, or what was it, 6-year, $90 million deal. Same thing with Nolan Arenado. Maybe a little bit of iffiness, but instead of trying to work it out and trying to get it fixed, let's just trade you the St. Louis Cardinals because we don't care. Carlos Gonzalez, let's just give you away too. Because why not? You're one of the best hitters ever to step on the Rockies field. Let's just give you away too. One of the better power hitters a couple years ago in the MLB. Let's just give him away. Why don't we just give everyone away? Let's give our organization away. That's what the Rockies are almost doing right now. The Rockies are going through a unneeded rebuild right now. They're entering a rebuild that was not because players got old and they just decided to enter one. This rebuild's their fault. This rebuild is completely on the front office's fault. They got rid of Cargo, they got rid of DJ LeMahieu, and now they're getting rid of Nolan Arenado. They are entering a rebuild that was absolutely not needed whatsoever. And now look at them. They just gave away, in my opinion, probably the best defensive player and the best third baseman in the league for literally nothing whatsoever. Report Nolan Arenado traded to the Cardinals from Rockies. St. Louis gets $50 million deal, $50 million in the deal. In a blockbuster trade, the Colorado Rockies dealt third baseman Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals on Friday, according to The Athletic's Ken Rosenthal, who first reported talks between the two teams were escalating Thursday. This was a tweet here. Let's see, that's kind of just the deal there. Names possibly going to the Rockies are left-hand pitcher Austin Gomber, first baseman Luke and Baker, outfielder John Torres, and return also might include pitcher Jake Woodford or right-handed pitcher Angel Rondon. Exact package not confirmed. So that's probably the deal there. But MLB Network's John Heyman added the Arenado will receive an extra guaranteed year on his contract at about $15 million as a part of his negotiated arrangement. ESPN's Jeff Passan reported in December 2019 that multiple teams were attempting to engage the Rockies in trade talks for Arenado, but the conversations went nowhere. Now, the winter meetings following the winter meetings last year, Rosenthal reported Colorado is listening to offers for its star player. It seemed like the odd time for Rockies to even consider dealing Arenado, let alone actually make the move. He signed an 8-year contract extension worth $260 million 2 years ago, potentially tying him to the organization through 2026. Some of the details of that contract may have forced the Rockies' hand. Arenado had an opt-out clause after the 2021 season, which would let him become a free agent at the age of 30, when he could presumably secure another long-term deal. If the deal between the Rockies and Cardinals is finalized, Arenado will keep his opt-out after 2021, get an additional opt-out after 2022, and retain his full no-trade clause, source tells The Athletic. At the time Arenado signed the extension, Colorado was coming off a back-to-back playoff appearances and nearly ended the Los Angeles Dodgers' reign atop the National League West in 2018 before losing a one-game tiebreaker. The 2019 season was a significant step back for the Rockies. They finished fourth in the NL West with a 71-91 record, their worst in a season since 2015. Arenado did everything he could to keep the team competitive with a .315, .379, .583 slash line, 41 home runs, and 118 RBIs. Things didn't get better in Colorado last year as it limped a 26-34 finish in an abbreviated 60-game season. Arenado told The Athletic's Nick Roque that 2019 felt like a rebuild for the organization heading into his 8th year, playing through another rebuild effort after 96-loss 2014 and 94-loss 2015 seasons could have given him pause about being in Colorado long term. The Rockies prospect pipeline in the position right now, Fangraphs farm system value rankings as the 4th worst in MLB, with only one position player or pitcher projected to be above average or better, shortstop Brendan Rodgers. By moving Arenado now, the Rockies were able to save a significant amount of money and add more prospects in the process. The Cardinals were able to extend their championship window by adding Arenado. He has been the best all-around third baseman in the MLB since 2016, when his offensive numbers caught up to the elite defensive skills. Over the past 5 seasons, Arenado ranks 3rd among NL players with 23.3 Fangraphs wins above replacement. He's won 8 straight Gold Glove awards and has finished in the top 10 of NL MVP voting 5 times. So right there just shows you how good he is and what the Rockies are giving up. So let's now look at Nolan Arenado's stats. Let's get his stats up here. Alrighty, so Nolan Arenado's stats. So his 2020 stats, they said, were 182 batting average, 182 at bats, a 253 batting average, 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, 0 stolen bases, and a 738 OPS. His MLB career stats, he's at 4,118 at bats, 293 batting average, 235 home runs, 760 RBIs, 16 stolen bases, and an OPS of 890. So those are his career stats. And that just goes to show you how good of a player he is and how good of a player he can be. So this is a big deal here. This is really a huge deal because, for the Rockies, and like I said, they're kind of, and what it said in the article, they don't have a very good farm system. And it's not like they're getting really any better with this. They're entering a rebuild that they don't have the pieces to rebuild right, and they're entering a rebuild that they don't need to be in, right? So, it's going to be an interesting situation there with the Rockies. It really is. It's going to be very interesting. Comment down below your thoughts on this deal and kind of what you think about it. So I'd like to see that. Comment down below actually 2 things. Comment down below who you think won the Matthew Stafford Jared Goff trade. And comment down below what do you think about the Nolan Arenado trade. All that good stuff. So let's look here at the games for college basketball. Crane won, Gonzaga won, Purdue won, UCLA won, Tennessee won, Virginia Tech won, Georgia Tech won, Baylor won, Villanova won, Penn State won, Florida won, Missouri won, Texas Tech won, Oklahoma won. Yesterday, Ohio State won and Houston won. And today, we got Louisville, Georgia Tech, give Louisville the win. Drake, Illinois State, give Drake the win. And Oklahoma, Texas Tech, give Texas Tech the win. And as for the NBA, on Friday, the Jazz won, Spurs won, 76ers won, Clippers won, Kings won, Pelicans won, Knicks won, Hawks won, Hornets won, and the Nets won as well. Yesterday, Warriors won, Suns won, Lakers won, Grizzlies won, Hornets won, Heat won, Rockets won, Trailblazers won. And yesterday, the Timberwolves won, Raptors won, Nuggets won, Clippers won, and 76ers won. Nets lost yesterday, 149-146. Just wasn't good enough defense and choked the game late there. Today's game, he's got the Heat, Hornets give Heat the win, Lakers, Hawks give Lakers the win, Kings, Pelicans give Pelicans the win, Knicks, Bulls give Bulls the win, Rockets, Thunder give Rockets the win, Cavs, Timberwolves give Cavs the win, Bucks, Trailblazers give Bucks the win, Spurs, Grizzlies give Spurs the win, Mavericks and Suns give Mavericks the win, and Nuggets, Pistons give Nuggets the win. As for the NHL, on Friday, the Blue Jackets won. Saturday, the Canucks won. Blues won, Avalanche won, Oilers won, Flames won, Lightning won, Hurricanes won, Panthers won, Capitals won, Flyers won, and Sabres won. Rangers lost on Sunday, just could not get a good, or Saturday, we had it. We had the game in our hands, but we blow it late again. And yesterday, the Oilers won, Wild won, Blues won, Flyers won, Blackhawks won, Hurricanes won, Panthers won, and Devils won. And today, we got the Capitals, Bruins give Bruins the win. Canucks give Canadians the win. Lightning, Predators give Lightning the win. Jets, Flames give Flames the win. And that's it. Rangers also play today. Rangers come into this game 2-4-2 on the season. The over-under 6.5. This game's on today at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBCSN or MSG Network as well. You can find out whatever. I'll give the Rangers the win. We got to get our goaltending. If we would have won last game if we had a better goaltending. We got to play better on the goaltending side, and we've got to hold on to a lead. I mean, in order to win the game, you got to hold on to leads. So that's the deal there. And as for the fantasy side of things, I lost in fantasy basketball 1,527 to 1,677. I lost 1,677 to 1,527. That was the score there. I moved to 3-3 on the season. Today I've got Trae Young, Jimmy Butler, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Davis, Jonas Valanciunas, and Victor Oladipo. Injury report here: Trae Young's day-to-day. Young knee is probable for Monday's game against the Lakers. Anthony Davis is day-to-day as well. Davis quadricep is questionable for Monday's game against Atlanta. Kyle Goon of the Orange County Register reports. And Jonas Valanciunas is out. Jonas Valanciunas' COVID-19 protocols won't play Monday against the Spurs, so he's still out there. And as for the hockey, I lost as well in hockey, so I moved to 1-2 on the season. I lost 113 to 98, so got to find a way to get better there. And injury report: Jamie Benn's off of IR. Ben scored a goal and assist in Sunday's 4-3 shutout loss to the Hurricanes. So they ended up losing, but he came off of IR. That was the deal there. And yeah. So hopefully I get the win there. But yeah, that's what I got for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Tomorrow, Didi Gregorius signed a new contract with the Phillies, so I'll be talking about that probably, and any other news or any other sports stuff. So yeah, so that should be pretty good. Another good podcast in the books. A lot of great sports here. It's been a lot of fun to watch them and talk about them. So yeah. So all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.